and welcome to the Beer Jug Beer of the Week Drink Along. I'm Luke, and you're not Joe.
No, I'm Alessio.
Hey Alessio, good to see you.
Yeah, likewise, Luke, likewise.
You made this beer?
Yeah, I did. So this is a grey pale. It's basically based on an Italian style, which is called Italian Grey Pale. Well, this obviously isn't an Italian Grey Pale, it's a Kiwi Grey Pale because we did use Sauvignon Blanc unfermented, freshly squeezed juice. Basically, the concept is, according to the BJCP, you're allowed to use like up to 40% of the fermentables. They can be grapes or like wine must, as long as it is like unfermented, because otherwise you're gonna lose all these beautiful flavors. And cheers.
Salut. Is that correct?
Salute.
Salute.
Yeah. Salute.
Salute.
Yeah. And
it's kind of an Italian ale. Some Italians were involved.
Yeah, at all. Yeah, big time, mate. And this one, in our case, basically, it's a pretty simple grist. So that is mainly Pilsner and a little bit of wheat. We've used 3 wine-friendly hops: Mosaic, Motueka, and Nelson Sauvin.
Of course.
And just a touch, because you don't want to go and ruin, you know, the wine notes.
Yeah.
And then at some point, we just chucked in like 120 liters of freshly squeezed and fermented Sauvignon Blanc juice.
Beautiful.
From the Stone Ridge Vineyard in West Auckland.
Very cool.
And it's pretty dry.
Yep.
With a little touch of sweetness at the beginning, but then it ends up pretty dry. Really fruity.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell the Nelson, the Sauvignon Blanc juice is actually coming through.
Yeah.
And it is mainly, you know, like mango, a little bit of passion fruit, quite zesty. And I'm pretty happy about it, because that took me 5.5 years to actually brew this beer, because it was never the moment.
Yeah.
We had COVID, and then we had the floods who destroyed like pretty much all the Ox Bay grape harvest, and also, you know, and also in Auckland, and so that was never the moment. And then this year, so randomly, a friend of Dylan, our brewery manager, he basically was working for this winery, and at the very last minute he said, "Hey, I've got some unfermented grape juice, do you want it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's do it." So, salute.
Cheers to that.
Yeah.
A beer that's years in the making.
Yeah.
Yeah.
5.5. Better late than never.
But also, it's not a typical beer that people might expect from Brothers.
At all. And I have been really surprised, because we went to Havana this year.
Yeah.
And
this weekend just gone.
Yeah. And the thing is that people at the beginning, they were a little bit, curious, because, you know, it's unusual.
Yep.
But I do believe that it's been going really great. Also because, I mean, most of the customers, they've been coming back, especially for these as well.
Yeah, cool.
And I believe that New Zealand has got really good grapes.
Yeah, it has.
So do we in Italy. And I thought, why not? You know, so
why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Well, it's such a good beer style. There's so much you can do with beer and with wine.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, borrowing the yeast, and champagne yeast is really interesting. Whether it's the wood, and, you know, aging beer in barrels is so fantastic.
Or you could also, like, you know, chuck these unfermented grape juice in primary fermentation, or during the diastasis rest. The thing is that it is a little bit risky when you're a brewery like us, that we do make, like every other brewery in New Zealand, lots of hazes, you know? And so it is a risk that not everyone's willing to take, and we've decided to go with the others. So now we basically boiled it. Yeah, of course. We pulled it, yeah. And, but yeah, as you said, there is like so much you can do, and in Italy it's been a recognized style in the BJCP since 2014. Yeah. So it is a thing. It's called IGA, Italian Grape Ale. And well, I'm proud, because you know, it took a long time to make it, and also to come up with a decent recipe. And
very good recipe. It's fantastic.
Thanks, mate. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next year, because the way we're making it, or also if you were to use still unfermented grape juice, which is like the way to go about it, then it depends at what point of the brewing process you're going to use it. But you have to think of this beer as it was a fresh hop. So you have a really small window to come up with the recipe and then chuck it in. Yeah, it's great, and I think it's a little bit exclusive, and people have been really happy, especially those who do not necessarily like craft beer, but they like a vino. Well, they came back pretty happy, and it wasn't a tasting glass, it was a full glass. So happy days.
Perfect for wine drinkers up there, Varna.
Yeah, totally.
Well, we a small glass. We made a grape ale in collaboration with a winemaker, and at the time we joked about how it's a beer that nobody wants, because beer drinkers don't want to drink wine, and wine drinkers certainly don't want to drink beer.
Exactly.
So I can totally see how, like, maybe your bosses that were sort of making decisions, and you might be like, hey, should we do this? Like, oh, actually, Alessio, maybe make some more hazy IPA.
Yeah, exactly.
So awesome effort getting it drunk, getting it made. But yeah, it's so cool to hear that people are into it. And when you taste it, it's like bloody great. It's
because you can taste the grape, but you've got the little touch of bready / honey coming through, and it kind of remembers you that you're drinking a beer. You're not drinking wine. It's a beer also first. Because it's a 6.7 ABV, and it is pretty drinkable. Also, I would say, because final gravity was pretty low, and
it's pretty smashable.
Happy about it,
So back to Italy, so breweries that would have kicked off the grape ale style, would that have been like Baladin, BOTW?
The first one ever recognized, it's Barley. He's Nicola is his name. He's based in Sardinia, and I have had the pleasure actually to meet him in Brussels, because that's where I lived before coming to New Zealand. And we were showcasing grape ales to Belgians.
Very cool.
And that would have been 2015, something like that. So a year after the BJCP recognized these as an actual beer style. And but he started making grape ales in like 2007. He's been the pioneer. Baladin, it started like in 2010. So Nicola Pera from Barley in Sardinia. He's been absolutely the first, and he's smashing it, because that's pretty much 70% of what he does.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Crikey. Yeah, I've heard of them, but I've never tried any of their beers. I've heard lots of Baladin, of course.
Yeah, it's not really easy to get a hold of his beers in New Zealand, because I've tried to look for them, but
can't get much here, can we?
Nah. But Baladin is another good one. Baladin is the first independent brewery in Italy, craft brewery, which means not independent because it's not like selling to big industries or whatnot, but because he's actually growing his own barley, growing his own hops, growing his own fruits, selecting his own yeasts. So it is like a full circle. Long story short, he doesn't have to buy ingredients off anyone. So Matteo Musso, fantastic.
Yeah, that's so wonderful. That's like, I think a lot of brewers' dream scenario, isn't it?
That is the future.
Local and
stay local, and produce everything just your own.
And you're right. Here in New Zealand we do have access to. We always talk about the fantastic hops, but also brilliant grapes, and this is a brilliant style. You look at the BJCP guidelines and these new styles that are coming out all the time, and a lot of them are so muddy and they're so similar, and it's like, actually, what is the difference between an extra pale ale and a New Zealand Pilsner? And it's like,
Well, the yeast, I would say.
That's what annoys me. New Zealand Pilsner is ale yeast.
I know. Apart from a few of them, like, for example, Sawmill.
Yeah.
Sawmill, I can tell, is not like it's not ale yeast, but I've tried a few during the beer Varna, and as soon as you smell them, they're good. Don't get me wrong, but like it's just
it's not a Pilsner.
It's not. You can't call that a Pilsner. You call that I call that an XPA.
That's lovely. But anyway, we're not going to be those immigrants that move to this country and complain about the local culture.
No, at all, because we've got a beautiful example of the wonderful terroir.
Clearly designed, defined, really cool style. We haven't got long left, so I know you need to get back to brewing. But we didn't really talk much about brothers at the start, so we'd like to talk a little bit about the brewery.
Yeah.
Like, what's the deal? Didn't Brothers disappear?
No, at all. So
I know it didn't, but a lot of people are surprised. A lot of people do think that Brothers.
I know. Okay. Long story short, we went into liquidation.
Yeah.
The last week of May, and then luckily we got bought off from a Chinese company. We already knew them because I think it was over like 2021, 2022. We have made like beer for them. Their main company, their main activity is to export like New Zealand beers to China.
Great.
And so that's they bought off the company, and now they not only they own an export company, but they own a brewery. So the idea is that, for example, now in winter times when breweries tend to make less beer because, well, there is less demand. Yeah. The idea is that we should be like steady, busy all year long.
Perfect new owners, exporters.
Yeah, and we have just, like about 3 weeks ago, we have just sent the first like 20,000 liters to China. Yeah. It's mainly high ABV beers because luckily the Chinese government does not tax you on the ABV, and therefore it's actually cheaper. Yeah. I know it sounds like a joke, but that is the truth. And so now we back.
Brilliant.
We back.
And also that is, as at Beer Jerk, we've done a lot of importing over the years. So sporadically from like Sweden or the States or Australia, lots of. But when I'm going through lists and choosing what to import, I'm not really bothered about importing a core range pale ale. Yeah, no. The stuff that I want to import is the cool stuff, which often is higher ABV, more unusual, more interesting. So are you finding that? Are you finding that the demand is more for beers like this?
I'm finding that at the moment, because their export company basically 5 or 6 years ago, they were exporting like tons and tons and tons of Belgian beers. Yeah. So all the good sour stuff you can find in the market, like to name a few, Cantillon, Driefontein, and De Cam, really the
so good,
top-notch stuff. And as well as, obviously, what we call Trappists. So double, triples, quadruples, San Bernardos, less veteran, and so now the trend in China, it's hazies. Okay. Guess what? Who would have thought? We have been sending mainly hazies, even though I have to say, over the six, 7 different beers that we send over to China, there's actually a few high ABV crystal clean IPA, like old school.
Yeah, West Coast.
Just to name one, Heavy Machinery. Yeah. For example, Fear and Loading, we've been like tweaking the recipes a little bit. Yeah. But certainly looking forward to send like something like this or like the Altezano, for example.
Very cool. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Fantastic beer.
Cheers, Luke.
I'm glad it paid off after many years of work. It's.
I honestly did lose any hope to brew, but
Yeah. COVID, business liquidating.
Hope is the last to die, as we say in Italian. So
harvest getting frozen.
Salute.
Salute. And we'll be back next week to try another beer. Thanks for joining us.
Cheers, guys.
See you next time.